Hey guys, what's going on? From Kwan Bilal here, Passion for Real Estate Investment. Today I have a very special guest, one of my buddies, Sherman Arnowitz from Keyhole. We're going to talk a lot today about the note business. Of course, this platform discusses notes, real estate, fix and flips of buy and hold. But as you know, I am a note investor, and Sherman also has been in the note business for a while. Sherman is actually one of my mentors in the space, and we'll talk a little bit about how that relationship created and some of the things he's doing to add value back to the community. So first question I have for every guest that come on the show is, why are you passionate for real estate?
I fell into this. My college roommate coerced me into this, and through hook or crook, I got into this, and I fell in love with it. And I just couldn't believe that there was such a small niche that was, when we started doing it 25, 26 years ago, on my hand, I could tell you how many investors were doing it.
Wow.
And I just felt so blessed that the universe kind of pointed me to this area. I was doing something completely different with my brother at the time, and lo and behold, I fell into this. And not only did it give me the opportunity to create a lifestyle for myself, and aside from the money that it's able to bring into the family, it's allowed me to work from home so that I could go to my daughter's games when they're playing at high school or special events. It's allowed me to travel the world. All you need is a computer and a phone. So it's really so special that it's given me those opportunities to really live that lifestyle that I imagined that I wanted to have.
That's awesome. This is definitely a lifestyle business that gives you the freedom and time that you want. I know you do some other things too. You're a musician.
Yeah.
I see you, doing your thing out there. So it gives you the time to do that as
Absolutely.
well, which is something else that you're passionate
Absolutely.
about also. And that's what makes it fun.
It's
so
great.
A little bit about, in your journey, you said 25 years you've been involved with this. So I'm sure you're market tested, market cycle tested. So you've been through that process. Where we are now in the business, where it has shifted, where we have regulation, pricing is more than everything else. I've seen that you've been doing this for a while, have been adding value to others who want to learn the business by setting up a platform where they can learn. And you've done a great job doing that. And you have different tools and stuff too, which we'll jump into. The first thing I want to discuss is the academy that you set up. I know when we first met years ago, we took lunch. You were telling me about the launch of an academy that you were doing. You would say, "Hey, I'm doing this academy. I see you out here doing training too. Let's try to do something." And I saw that you created that, which was great. So it's an online platform where one can go and learn about first and learn about seconds. And I remember when you first finished it, you sent me the first sample and said, "Hey, go take the test and let me know what you think." And I'm like, "Okay." So you took the test and you worked it out and you got it going, then you launched it, which is a great, great tool. I do the education as well, but your education was a different spin. It was a lot of different videos also on analyzing, pricing, and everything else. And I thought that was really good that you touched on first and seconds and added value to people. So let's talk a little bit about that. What made you get into that, and a little bit about that Keyhole Academy?
Sure. Truth be told, when I started Keyhole Academy about 4 years ago, things were slowing up as far as access to seconds. And so my world of creating and managing funds was slowing down a little bit, and I was looking for an opportunity to keep myself busy and keep the company going. And so I decided to create Keyhole Academy. And I wanted to do it in a way that I like learning and analyzing through Microsoft Excel. When I would look at the property, the loans that would come in, I would have a specific way of going through that due diligence process. And so I wanted to create a platform where others who wanted to get into this business can learn and do it in a way that I thought, like you said, proven way that they could get into this and follow the same way that I was. And so right now we started out first and seconds, and right now we're just focusing on seconds. And part of the reason for that is because for me, there's so many more opportunities with seconds than there were with first. Not only that, if you're going to buy right, there's a lot more exit strategies. I've also developed with the Academy a joint venture private mentorship program where if someone wants to take the course and start working by themselves and they're off and running, that's great. But a lot of the students came to me and said, we took the course, it's great, we need a little bit more hand-holding. And that's why I came up with the joint venture private mentorship, where they're going to buy the notes, we're going to split the profits 50-50, but we're going to hold their hand every step of the way. And that's been proven to be more successful. And more for selfish reasons, I feel if I properly train somebody, they become a soldier for me. And a lot of my students have gone out and find loans that I couldn't have found and brought them back and said, hey, let's do something together on these loans, as well as spreading the word that they've enjoyed taking the Keyhole Academy class.
So not only are you creating JVs, you're actually creating strategic partners in a sense.
Absolutely.
And that's been a theme of this whole conference so far, of all the people that I've interviewed so far, is that they were saying they were doing things independently, but they saw it to take it to the next level. They started to create strategic partners. So I have a lot of strategic partners as well, and I know in real estate on both sides, and that's helped me grow tremendously also. So that's great. Now you've created another tool also to help do due diligence, which was really, really awesome. When I was doing the mastermind sessions, I would bring you on and introduce that tool. So let's talk a little bit about that. I thought that eValue, it was really, really great. It was something that was needed in the business, because that's what most people struggle with is, how do I price this asset? And really learning the metrics and everything in Excel and how to do macros and all that stuff. You created something which is like awesome. So let's talk a little bit about that eValue, what it does, and how you use it.
A lot of the students that I was teaching were struggling a little bit with Microsoft Excel and what they needed to do when they were doing the due diligence to bid on loans. And so I worked with somebody who had programmers in India, and we created a tool that basically mimicked what was going on with Excel, but there were a lot of things behind the scene that weren't being shown that really helps the investor in a very quick way to determine which loans, based on the metrics of scoring and weighted averages and everything's behind the scene, and really coming up with a potential offer price. And based on that price, how many months will it take to break even, and what kind of estimated return you can expect. So it's been a project of love, and it's worked out really well.
That's really good. I actually see when I put out offerings and notes for sale, I see bids coming in from eValue, and I'm like, oh shit, this is
cool.
This is happening.
Yeah,
it's working, cool. It's working. And then I reply back, so it's really good. And then I'm like, the JV structure that you have is giving people an opportunity to learn of how we price. In fact, there was an offering that I had out, and someone made a bid, and then they didn't get close to the bid, and they wanted more information to bring back to figure out, where they may have went wrong, or if it was in the right guidelines of what they were pricing. And I kind of reply back to them and say, hey, the market is dictating these prices. It's not something I have internally.
Sure.
It's based off of recovery of the pool. So
sure.
Like, okay, I get it. So that, was good that they're learning organically in that sense from the tools that you have created, eValue, in Keyhole. Are you doing any real estate investments? I know we spoke one time, you were aligning yourself with someone who wanted to do flips, so they had some type of opportunity up in the area where you are in New York. Did you?
I am. Just recently, about 3 months ago, I developed a relationship who was with somebody that was doing seconds many, many years ago, and we did some business together. And he called me up out of the blue, and he said, I'm doing these flips. I have access to thousands and thousands of properties on Long Island, and I wanted to work with you. And for whatever reason, he was very excited to work with me and my processes. And so just within 3 months, we've entered the world of house flipping on Long Island. He has a preservation business where the banks hire him to take care of the properties that they're foreclosing on. And so that's really given us great access to these homes. And then the process of finding the homeowner and working out a short sale with the bank, it's been very well. We're just in an infancy stage, but it's going really well. And
that's awesome. You mentioned something that I picked up on when you said processes. So it sounds like you took the processes and you emulated what you set up in the note business, and you brought that over to the flip world to
Absolutely.
kind of streamline that process and still give you the freedom and stuff that you need
Yes.
with that. So what is let's talk to people who's new getting into space, understanding the importance of setting up those processes. How do you see that add value to your business? Because for me, that handled the scalability factor. I came into the space, and when I got the opportunity to buy a very large pool, I really struggled because I didn't have all those processes in place. And I learned a lot from you guys along the way on the due diligence and those steps. So let's talk a little about the processes and why is it.
You bring up a good point, and I don't think it's really brought up as much as it should be on the processes. And there's a TV show where the guy talks about product, people, and processes. And you have to have all three in order to be successful. And the processes, it's so important. Otherwise, you get so entrenched in the day-to-day garbage. The processes allow you to streamline so that whether you're working 5 loans, 50 loans, I was talking to somebody in the other room and they said, well, if you have a couple hundred or a couple thousand loans, how are you able to do that? And a lot of it is done with those processes. If this happens, we're going to do this. If the homeowner stops paying us, we're going to follow this process. If they start with foreclosure, we're going to go into that process. And you constantly are tweaking and streamlining those processes. And so it's one of my strengths that I've been able to carry forward, whether it's with Keyhole Financial, Keyhole Academy, a Value Note, or now with this new project of the house flipping in particular. There's so many doors, as you know, that you have to go through, and you have to make sure that you're juggling all these balls, you're not going to drop them. So I'm really trying to develop those processes.
Yeah, that was important. That's been a major factor and the key point in restructuring our in-house processes. It actually makes a difference with the bottom line ROI as well.
Absolutely.
When you can outsource stuff and get rid of other costs because of those processes.
Absolutely.
So that's important. One last thing I want to mention, we always, end the podcast with, for people who's new or people who's experienced, what can you tell them if they're new getting into this space or if they're experiencing the space, some of the things that you went through along the way in your journey that you learned from to kind of, catapult them to the next step or the next level, whether they want to go from 1 note to 100 notes with some value or, get into their first flip, if they're passionate for real estate and want to do this, what value can you
For me, my experience it's been a learning process for me on so many different levels. Most important is the level of when the tough gets going, that I've been able to do what's necessary regardless what it is. And if I didn't want to call those 20 people or those banks, or I didn't want to do this and I didn't want to do that, nobody else was going to do it. And it really depended on me to do it. And if you have a vision that I want to buy 50 notes this year, you have to stay true to that vision and do whatever it takes in order to acquire and get to that vision. And constantly keep that vision in front of you. And for me, it was really the nice surprise that I had it within me that I could keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And once I did accomplish it, that I could take a breath, pat myself on the back and say, wow, what a great job. What's the next step?
Yeah. Did you ever do sales? Because this guy's a great sales guy.
I have.
didn't know you had to have some sales.
I have. Do you want to buy this pen?
Sure. But I noticed that when we would talk a lot, I would kind of get that sense, because I've come from a sales background also all my life. And I would get that sense of this guy's a great sales guy. Just in a regular conversation that we'll have, is this guy trying to sell me? With the framework and everything else. So I've learned some things also about how to frame certain things from speaking to you. And having certain conversations. I got to ask him that one day. Is it ever been in sales?
The tool that I come up with sales, the two things are listen, and if you don't ask, you don't get. And those are really the two things that I try to kind of live by, to say, I don't know, should I do that? Well, what's the worst that's going to happen if you ask this person for whatever, or you want to ask to be moved up from economy to first class? If you don't ask, you're not going to get. And as far as a sales tool, it's developing that talent of just being able to listen. And on one level, you're in listen mode. And on another level, you're in management / next step sales mode. So I know you want to buy this pen, because this pen is going to be able to write a check for $1 million on your new house. So
Good.
I'm going to give it to you for free.
I really appreciate that. You heard it from the man himself. Closed mouths don't get fed. Sherman Arnowitz from Keyhole Academy. Thank you for coming by, sir. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. Another great episode at PFREI, Passion for Real Estate Investment. Catch us at PFREI on our Instagram and our Facebook page. Have a great day, and we'll catch you at the next episode.